Have you ever witnessed modern warfare shift in real time? This is exactly what we're seeing now, as Ukrainian drones strike not just enemy soldiers or tanks, but the very arteries of Russia's logistics, its railways. Today, we take a deep dive into the most recent Ukrainian drone strike on a Russian freight train. We break down the operation, the technology, the strategic impact, and what this means for the future of warfare. The war in Ukraine has entered a new phase. Gone are the days when front lines were the only target. Now, Ukrainian forces are focusing on logistics, supply chains, and infrastructure. And there's no target more symbolic or more vital than a train. Russia's railway system is enormous. It's the backbone of military logistics. From ammunition to fuel, food to reinforcements, trains move everything. That's why when a drone explodes next to a Russian train carrying fuel, it's not just a spectacle. It's a message, it's a disruption, and it's a warning. According to multiple open-source reports, the Ukrainian drone strike occurred on a key logistical railway in the Bryansk region, not far from the Ukrainian border. The target, a freight train pulling several tankers of fuel and logistic supplies. At approximately 3:45 a.m., surveillance drones identified the convoy. Minutes later, a kamikaze drone struck the first fuel tanker, causing a chain reaction. The explosion was captured on satellite and CCTV footage. Bright flames, black smoke, the type of destruction that halts traffic for hours, if not days. Initial Russian sources claimed the explosion was an accident, but OSINT investigators quickly matched drone fragments from the scene with models used by Ukraine's security services, the SBU. This wasn't an accident, it was a precision strike. So how do these drones work? Ukraine uses a wide variety of drones, from small FPV quadcopters to large, long-range kamikaze UAVs like the Beaver, developed locally with range up to 1,000 kilometers. In this case, analysts suggest the strike was carried out by an FPV first-person view drone packed with explosives, manually guided by an operator toward the fuel car. FPV drones are cheap, they're fast, and they're devastating. Often made from civilian parts, these drones cost a few $100s, but can destroy equipment worth millions. What makes them so dangerous is the speed, maneuverability, and real-time guidance. Operators wear goggles and fly the drone manually, like a video game. But with real-world stakes, the aftermath was significant. Rail traffic was halted, emergency crews responded. Flames raged for hours. Local reports mentioned explosions heard over 10 kilometers away. But the impact goes beyond just a few destroyed wagons. Fuel supply to Russian military units in the area was likely disrupted. Repairs to damaged railway lines take time, and the fear of repeat strikes lingers. Morale also takes a hit. Knowing that even deep inside Russian territory, they're not safe, that's psychological warfare at its finest. Russia's initial response was predictably dismissive. State media claimed it was a technical malfunction, no mention of drones, no mention of sabotage. But the footage told another story. By daybreak, railway officials had blocked off the area. Military trucks arrived. Investigators were on site. The presence of FSB agents near the wreckage was impossible to miss. Telegram channels linked to Russian soldiers began to tell a different narrative, one filled with frustration and fear. One anonymous post read, "If our rear isn't safe anymore, how can we win this war?" The Kremlin's silence speaks volumes. As Ukraine continues to strike with impunity, even inside Russia, it becomes harder for Putin to pretend that all is under control. So how does Ukraine continue to carry out these strikes despite limited resources? The answer lies in innovation. Since the beginning of the war, Ukraine has embraced asymmetrical warfare. Drones became the great equalizer. Civilian engineers, tech startups, and even teenage drone pilots have become part of the war machine. In Kyiv, Kharkiv, and Lviv, entire workshops are devoted to drone development. They're cheap, they're fast to produce, and they're evolving. Some can fly hundreds of kilometers undetected using terrain-hugging algorithms. Others are built to pierce armor, or detonate on impact with pinpoint precision. Ukraine's Army of Drones initiative, the joint military tech partnership, has delivered over 20,000 UAVs to the front lines in the last year alone. Each drone carries more than just explosives. It carries a message. We see you. We can reach you. And you can't stop us. Let's take a moment to understand why targeting trains is such a big deal. Russia moves most of its fuel, ammo, and military equipment by rail. It's efficient but also predictable. You can't move railways. You can't hide them. And Ukraine knows it. By hitting trains, Ukraine doesn't just destroy cargo, it disrupts entire supply lines. Every delay costs time. Every destroyed railcar means fewer supplies reach the front. Every attack forces Russia to divert resources, reroute convoys, and rethink strategy. This is what military analysts call operational exhaustion. Bleeding the enemy, not through giant battles, but through 1,000 precision cuts. Meanwhile, the world is watching closely. Western military analysts have praised Ukraine's ability to strike deep behind enemy lines. British intelligence noted that Russian morale has likely been impacted by the recent drone attacks inside its own territory. U.S. defense officials stated that Ukraine is pioneering the future of drone warfare. Media outlets, from BBC to CNN, Al Jazeera to The Economist, have highlighted the strategic implications. They're asking, what does this mean for NATO, for Taiwan, for the very nature of modern conflict? Drone warfare is no longer a sideshow. It's the main act. But perhaps the most powerful effect of these strikes is psychological. Imagine you're a Russian train operator. You're 100 miles from the border. It's dark. You hear the buzz of a drone. Do you speed up? Do you stop? Do you run? Fear becomes a weapon. Just the threat of a drone strike can paralyze movement. And that, in war, is just as valuable as destruction. We spoke to several Ukrainian soldiers and drone operators who participated in recent missions. One operator, call sign Falcon, said, "We used to fight with guns. Now we fight with signal strength and video feeds. We've learned to see the battlefield from the sky." Another added, "Our drones don't just fly. They think, they adapt, and they're getting better every day." In the background of the war, beyond tanks and artillery, is this invisible drone army rewriting the rules of engagement. This is not the war of your grandfather. It's not trenches and cavalry charges. It's drones versus railroads, code versus tanks, innovation versus bureaucracy. Ukraine is fighting with its brainpower, not just firepower. And that's proving to be one of its most powerful weapons. Some might ask, will this provoke escalation? Perhaps. But the truth is, this is already an escalated war. Ukraine is defending its land, and it's doing so with surgical precision. By choosing drone strikes over carpet bombing, Ukraine shows that war can be fought strategically, not blindly. With precision, not mass destruction. With intelligence, not just firepower. This is not recklessness, it's evolution. What's happening in Ukraine is not just about one war. It's about the future of all wars. Military academies around the world are watching. NATO officers are studying Ukrainian drone tactics. Asian, Middle Eastern, and European armies are rethinking doctrine. Because if a $400 drone can destroy a $2 million tank, if one operator in a bunker can shut down a major railway node hundreds of kilometers away, then the entire balance of power is shifting. We're entering an era where agility trumps mass, where code becomes more valuable than steel, where soldiers are trained not just to shoot, but to program, pilot, and improvise. For Russia, this war has exposed a hard truth. Despite its size, its nuclear weapons, and its image as a superpower, it has proven incapable of stopping a swarm of low-cost, high-impact weapons. The drone strike on the train was not just a tactical success. It was a symbol, a message to both sides. To Russia, your depth is not your defense. To Ukraine, we can reach further. We are not afraid. Let's go back to the people. The drone operator, who didn't sleep for 30 hours, manually flying a UAV through enemy airspace. The engineer in Lviv soldering microchips under candlelight during a blackout. The train conductor in Russia who jumped from his locomotive moments before the fireball. These are the human stories behind every headline. Behind every explosion, there's a pair of hands. And a decision. So, what does it all mean? It means that no supply line is safe, that no rear is too deep, that the war is changing, and only those who adapt will survive. Ukraine has adapted, and the world is learning. This war, terrible as it is, has become a laboratory of military innovation. And the drone strike on the Russian train Just one chapter in a much larger story. A story of resilience, of creativity, of fighting for freedom, one drone at a time. So the next time you hear the word drone, don't think of toys. Think of strategy. Think of resistance. Think of impact. Because somewhere in the skies above Russia, in the dark of night, another drone is flying. And it's not just flying toward a target. It's flying toward the future of warfare. Thank you for watching.